Hey guys, and welcome to a showdown between two sons of the mountain. The mighty Grombrindle shall be leading the Dark Elf hordes up against 4 Poland and his undeadly legions. Now this was part of our weekly challenge. For those who don't know, here on the channel once a week, or during the course of the week, there is a challenge set, and this week's challenge was the most kills you can get on the Raven Heralds, which is the Regiment of Renowned Dark Rider unit, which is pretty funny because they're more of an assassination unit, right? You drop these bad boys over top of a mage, a caster, and that's when you really rack up your damage value with them. They're not a unit which has much ammunition, too many models in either, so it's quite hard to get a big a number of kills, big old body count, but that is the challenge today, and it looks like Grombrindle is indeed this week's winner, coming in with the Raven Heralds up in the sky, and he's got a nice little air force to accompany them. Double Harpies are going to be floating alongside. We also have a Sorceress of Fire flying high on a Pegasus, coming in with Cascading Fire Cloak, Flaming Sword of Rune, and Burning Head. We also have a Dreadlord, a character you basically never get to see, riding dirty on a mighty black dragon, coming in with Volley of Dark Arrows, the Guiding Eye, which does increase armor piercing missile damage by 20% for allies. So obviously this entire build is designed to help support the Raven Heralds in their attempt to get those most amount of kills. So we have Flaming Sword of Ruin, plus the aid here from the Dreadlord up in the skies. Really cool tactics. Apart from that, down on the ground, it's relatively elite actually. We have some cheap and cheerful Dread Spears on either side, but in the central portion of the battlefield, we have Hageneth Executioners lifting those mighty cleaving swords above their head, ready like statues waiting to go to war. Just behind them, we have some Cold One Dread Knights and Bad to the Bones Elite Cavalry. It looks like more Cold One Dread Knights on the other flank as well. So a relatively small ground force, but of course investing heavily in the air, which you have to do up against vampire counts because they themselves can bring terror guys, dragons, fellbats, lots of pesky stuff in the air game. But unfortunately for Poland, he only has double fellbats. Those guys probably not going to fare too well. I have the ground game is certainly where he can pick up some ground. Ton of zombies dotted through the front line. In the secondary line, we do have skeleton warriors, and it looks like just a ton of warriors in general, but also Graveguard in the back burner. These guys bad to the bones, lifting their shields and swords in fury against the living. We have a little Banshee down here to support. Banshees are particularly pesky and annoying, coming in with Potion of Strength as well as Slippery. And on the flanks, we do have some Cane Wraiths. Looks like one on the left-hand side, one on the right. These guys are feral. Going to cause big problems for this build in general if they can avoid those burn heads and fireballs and the like. We have a ton of Black Knights as well, the more cheaper and cheerful brethren of the Blood Knight variety. And this colour scheme, look at this! I haven't seen this before, coming in the blue Regal Undead Troops. Not every day you get to hear that. This is, of course, Henrik Kemmler's sub-faction, and he is going to be leading it, coming in with that Glorious Krell summon, Cloak of Mist and Shadows. We have Wind of Death, of course, Raise Dead, Dance Macabre, Invocation Heck, all the goodies, and he's going to be escorting at the cavalry flank. Without further ado, looks like the air fight is going to get underway, and these poor fellbats are just going to try and get as much damage as possible where they can before they inevitably do get snuffed out. And it looks like the Harpies are actually going to take the fight to them, really not risking at those Raven Heralds whatsoever. Now, interestingly enough, I don't think going after zombies is going to be the most cost-effective way for the Raven Heralds to really get up those the damage kill count. I think shooting into the back of Skeleton Warriors is certainly going to be the best bet, and the Sorceress and Harpies are making short work of the Fellbats. In come the Raven Heralds, and they are going to start poking where possible at this infantry force. Dreadlord up in the sky as well, feasting upon the bats. That dragon certainly not going to be having too much troubles, although if for some reason it doesn't have a ton of blood over it, perhaps it is the blood of their enemy. Over here, more Fellbats are destroyed, and the Raven Heralds do finally start unleashing some shots into the rear of the Skeleton Warriors. This is a really good way to try to get as many kills as possible, because their shields are going to be absolutely useless when facing the wrong direction. It looks like a Flaming Sword of Rune has come down, as well as the Guiding Eye. These guys are packing some insane punch. I believe briefly it was 81 missile strength, although, of course, you don't need too much missile strength to really take out Skeleton Warriors. Over on this side, looks like the Black Knights have come out of the tree line. Harpies are floating overhead just to let them know, we know you're here. Don't try any sneaky schemes getting around our flanks, although there isn't, to be honest, too much the Dark Elves will be able to do if the undead do push forward and wrap around their flanks. At the moment, they're kind of just tanking shots on these Skeleton Warriors. Now, this isn't a bad thing for the undead because it's not going to get much damage value, but we are already up to 50 kills on the Raven Heralds. Still over half their ammunition left, and we had a ton of people compete in this challenge this week. It's been a huge amount of fun watching all the replays. But Grombrindle, he's showing his guile and scheminess here. that is known more among goblins rather than dwarfs, but he's doing it well with his Dreadlord combination with that Fire Mage. Undead still doing the very slow approach. Over on the right hand side, it looks like we are getting a massive overload into these Cold One Dread Knights, looking to hammer them home whilst they are isolated away. Some Dread Spears are quick to, and as well as some Harpies to push their way over here, although Krell has indeed been summoned. Everything being chucked at this unit, trying to overload it as quickly as possible. Now, Cold One Dread Knights are pretty elite and they're holding their own. Invocation of Heck, Undeath Resurgent, Dance Macabre has gone off all on these Black Knights, and the Cold One Dread Knights desperately holding the line, doing a really good job actually of stabilising this position, buying time as well for the Dread Spears to come over and support, but a lovely summon of zombies has gone down by 4 Poland, keeping the Dread Spears away as possible from the Cold One Dread Knights. So the second unit has emerged over here. This is a must-win situation for the Undead, I feel, but the Mighty Dreadlord has emerged. The rest of the front line is getting ready to engage. Those poor Skeleton Warriors have been getting picked apart from the beginning of the battle, going after those Hageneth Executioners, who are about to get flanked by Cane Wraiths as well. These guys with their mighty hooks will be doing some pretty decent damage. Hageneth Executioners still pack a punch, despite that ethereal effect, and the rest of the lines are slowly, bumbrously, kind of slumberously waddling forward, which is the way of the Undead. Down over on this flank, Black Knights initially got some good charges, but the Cold One Dread Knights do not give a damn. 120 armor is making them absolute rocks here in this formation. Now, Cane Wraiths are starting to get saturated on top, as well as Krell, who's up to an impressive 11 kills. But unfortunately, he's going after Dread Spears rather than the Cold One Knights. And this engagement has just completely stalled for both sides, which is fantastic news for the forces of the Dark Elves, buying more time for their air forces to really do some good work. Looks like a Banshee has been forgotten in the back lines, which is unfortunate. I do this all the time myself, and you know, it's a tactical reserve. The late game Banshee can be a big pain. Raven Heralds do get Flame Sword Rune popped on them once more, and they continue to harass and annoy this unit of Skeleton Warriors, who most certainly have had enough of the Raven Heralds by this point. Down here as well, Hageneth Executioners are completely surrounded by at this moment. Graveguard will do okay up against them. Of course, the Dark Elves are rather elite. Cane Wraiths, those swooping in, are going to be a bit more of a problem. Cane Wraiths as well have pretty decent AP, going to be able to break through that 100 armor of the Hageneth Executioners without too much trouble. Over on this flank, you can see some good micro coming in by the Vampire Count player, disengaging some of the Black Knights and looping around, coming in for a thunderous rear charge into the Hageneth Executioners, who do actually turn just about in time, so they don't take that charge in the rear. They're in a really sticky situation at the moment, and over in the distance, the Black Knights are crumbling, and somehow these Dread Knights stand strong, still alive, gaining a chevron as well. The Spearmen coming in to support with some really nice quick thinking all round by Grombrindle, and the Dreadlords doing some nice work over here. Looks like the Harpies did flee, but they can certainly come back as more Black Knights do charge into the fray. Heinrich Kemmler only up to 1 kill, but he is much more of a support character. Over here, the Raven Heralds have completely run out of ammunition at this point, but still 154 kills isn't too shabby. Now is the time to start rear charging the zombies, hopping onto them and trying to get as much damage as possible. And Raven Heralds don't have too much to fear from zombies, despite their low numbers. The zombies won't be able to hurt them too much. Cane Wraiths still doing a decent job, up to 22 kills, dragging down Cold One Dread Knights. One unit is pretty much spent, down to 20 models actually, isn't too terrible, but health-wise not looking too great. The other unit doing a far better job. In the main infantry fight, the Vampire Counts are just overwhelming and swarming the elite Hageneth Executioners, who are still getting decent job, you know, doing decent kills across the board. Has that Banshee been remembered? It has indeed. Good work. Banshee has returned to the field. Unfortunately, he can't do, or she can't do too much to save Heinrich Kemmler from the Dreadlord sniping her from the skies, doing his best Wood Elf impression, it would seem. Raven Heralds do float up into the skies before no doubt wheeling around once again for the cycle charge, and these Cold One Dread Knights have just been in this main engagement consistently all day long, just holding the line, doing some really nice work, and the Cane Wraiths are actually struggling up against them a little bit. I guess the armor is a big problem. Banshee has managed to swoop in to do some work on the Hageneth Executioners, and down go a few more of the undead units. Balance power just tipping in favour at the moment of the Dark Elves. However, they have now lost the majority of their infantry. These Dread Spears are getting slaughtered by the Cane Wraiths over in the distance, and now the big old block of triple Graveguard, as well as Heinrich Kemmler, is moving over to this left-hand flank to come in and support. We haven't seen too many breath attacks come down by the Dreadlord yet, so I'm sure there's still a few of them left in the bank, and we'll probably get to see them in just a moment. A lovely Invocation Heck does come down, and just like I said, the breath attack does come in, expertly dodged here by the Vampire Count player. Heinrich Himmler cackling as always, while the Dreadlord is on the prowl, coming in, swooping down, trying to have a nice little tasty afternoon snack. But Heinrich Himmler is simply going to wheel his horse around and try to escape where possible, fall back to those Graveguard, who are now floating over. Hagenef Executioners are buffed up by Flame and Sword of Ruin, so are the Cold One Dread Knights. Nice little blob has formed for that spell. Cane Wraiths here are starting to crumble rather rapidly at this point. Still 30 kills isn't too shabby, particularly up against the elite troops they have been facing all game, and it's become an absolute slugfest in the later stages of the battle here. It looks like the Sorceress of Fire is still up to her trickery. In the distance, Cane Wraiths are actually losing this fight now. I guess they're just so outnumbered, down to just 19 models, yeah, up against 52, not going to be going too well. And in the main fight, unfortunately, Heinrich Himmler is just getting sniped out by the Dreadlord. Not too much, unfortunately, he can do about that. Cloak of Mist and Shadows has been popped, though, trying to buy more and more time for these Graveguard to really grind their way through the Dark Elf forces. In the distance, Raven Heralds up to 185 kills now, cycle charging in zombies, and being assisted by the Sorceress of Fire. Dreadlord looks like he's lining up a shot, and oh, this is a nasty, nasty breath attack coming down on those Graveguard. Those guys are really bunched up at the moment, and it looks like the Banshee is going to be in big troubles as well. You may be ethereal, but dragons care little for your petty ethereal status. Graveguard are slowly peeling their way through Hagenef Executioners, who are nearly up to 200 kills. Once again, Flame and Sword of Ruin has gone down, expertly used so far all game by Grombrindle. In the distance, though, that pesky unit of Dread Knights has finally been forced off. Heinrich Himmler and the Cane Wraiths seeing to that. Harpies are going to be able to swoop back, though, and help finish the job. Balance Power going very, very heavily now against the Vampire Count forces. Dreadlord, is he lining up in a breath attack? No, looks like he's going to be swooping in instead, trying to break the backbone of the Graveguard. And with the elite infantry of the Vampire Counts done for, I think Heinrich Himmler probably wants to leg it for the hills, try and hide in a burrow somewhere, and come back to fight later another day. He is actually going to come in with a last second summon of zombies, but unfortunately these guys have been birthed into the world, only to be dragged back out of it once more, kicking and screaming. Raven Heralds, 209 kills. Insane micro by them all day, and a Pyrrhic victory for the Dark Elf forces. Really fun, interesting game. I always love these challenges, and particularly the really vague ones, such as, Raven Heralds, who are an elite unit designed to kill mages and that type of character. Get the most kills possible. What kind of innovative tactics can people bring to the table to try and complete the challenge? We had a load of different efforts by different people in different matchups, but Grombrindle is this week's champion, coming in with a whopping 209 kills. The combination of the Dreadlord buffing them up and those Flame and Swords of Ruin really made them pack that punch. 209 kills, and they didn't even pay for themselves, which is pretty hilarious. 18,000 damage dealt, only 574 damage value though, spending their day whittling away at skeleton warriors and zombies, but at least they get rid of some of the chaff, allow some of the more harder hitting units in the Dark Elf roster to really claim victory. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. We will go through the damage value and damage dealt of all the other units in just a second, but very well played to Grombrindle and for Poland, both two champs who have been on the channel before. And if you guys enjoyed, feel free to hit that big old thumbs up button and subscribe for more Total War Warhammer content if you haven't already. We drop new stuff every single day, as well as a stream once or twice in a week. And I may even do, this is kind of an idea that I'm going to put forth to people, would people be interested in me doing a Dawn of War, the original Dawn of War game? I think there's a legendary difficulty on that, and just doing the campaign, because it's so cheap on Steam now, I am very tempted. So let me know down below in the comments. I always do love reading your comments. I cannot reply to them all, but I do go through all of them, and it really does, warm my heart to see all the support and stuff. So massive shout out to you guys for that. In the description down below, there's a link to my Patreon as well as my Discord. On the Discord, you can get involved in these weekly challenges. There's currently a poll up now. Nakai is currently winning it, so you may end up seeing most damage value on Nakai, which would be really fun. But you can vote in there, you can get involved in live streams, all that good stuff, so feel free to join. It's really good fun. I think we have over 500 members now. It's absolutely wild. But anyway, enough of that rambling for the rest of the damage value. The Dreadlord was an inspired pick here. 4,182 damage value, 143 kills, 20k damage dealt. Disgusting work by him. Really nice breath attacks as well in the late game. Good sniping potential. I actually quite like him as a pick here up against the undead. Seems to work really well. Sorceress of Fire didn't really use too much of her damage output spells, really focusing on those Flame and Sword of Ruin. And it's not every day you see Spearmen get 100 and 178 kills, despite the relatively low damage value stats, of course, slaying zombies and skeleton warriors alike. Hagenef Executioners, always good to see them in action. 1.8k damage value on this unit, 1,000 on the other, doing pretty well. But I'm very, very impressed by the Cold One Dread Knights. Without Blood Knights to really kind of hammer them home, and show them what it's, what it truly is to be a vampire lord going to war. These guys just held the line. Black Knights could do little to nothing against them. 1k damage value on this one, 1,100, 1,888 on the other one. Inspired performance by both of them, just holding the enemy back so long that those Spimmer could come in. Vampire counts stayed a little too long in that engagement. Already going over the Raven Heralds, very impressive 209 kills, and both the Harpies not doing it too shabby, although not getting much value themselves, really mainly focusing down those fell bats early on in the game. As for Poland, really fun game. I think this was a game, just quick battles or a training game or something. So obviously trying out a few different things and going for the full 20 stack of Undead certainly can work. I like the pick of Heinrich Kemmel, of course. He's not going to be getting much damage value or damage dealt. He is here for those glorious summons. Banshee was forgotten but managed to come in the late stages of the game. Zombies across the board, somehow one unit got 7 kills, which is pretty impressive for some zombies. And all across the board, the infantry fared pretty poorly, including the Graveguard, because when they eventually did get into combat, they're up against Hargnef Executioners, who carved them up quite nicely. I like the pick of the Cane Rifes, though. One unit only getting 500 damage value, really getting stuck up on Spearmen and other units, but the other one, 1,115, dragging some of those Dread Knights to a watery grave. The Black Knights had a good initial charge, and I thought he had a really lovely flank overload, but boy was I wrong. Those Dread Knights simply did not give a damn. Fellbats, of course, standing no chance up against the air superiority of the Dark Elf forces. Hope you guys enjoyed. Until next time, peace, peace. And as always, stay awesome.